Hi, Pav. Good to see you.
Hi, John.
So we've been through the things. I'll start with question number one. So, what is your take on the UK being part of World War Three? Will our sons and daughters, 18 to 28, be drafted to go to war in the next year or so? The media chastised Sunak for running back home to get on with his election campaign and not clapping Zelensky on the D-Day stage and listening to Biden's war glorification speech. Reading Biden's speech, he's not saying we have learned the lessons from the past, but he's simply using the fight against evil mantra, to my mind, to actually be the evil that ignites World War III. Zelensky can be found thanking BlackRock and other global giants in his speeches for all their help. War only benefits the military industrial complex and it has nothing to do with democracy. When Biden looks to the UK to join the USA in marching on Russia, will you be cheering our sons and daughters to their deaths to be killed by one of a million £1,000 drones, which are probably being procured as I write this? Or as our MP, will you push back on this evil and say no to war? Will you be a voice for reason, a corporate puppet, or can you actually persuade me that war is the right thing to do? Okay, 2 minutes.
Wow, John, you don't like to do it by halves, do you? I mean, look, that's a big question. And in all seriousness, I don't think there's any easy answer. I don't subscribe to the view that we should take our step back on all military conflicts. I think there is a place in certain circumstances for the UK to play a role. What I would say about those, and in terms of almost like what are the red lines for me, first of all, I believe any vote to go to war and put our armed forces in active military action has to be a vote of parliament. I do not believe that that can be the will of any one prime minister, whoever that prime minister may be. I think a decision as serious as this needs to be an act by the whole of parliament, and we need to make sure any future conflict does actually adhere to those rules. So I would have to make that decision as and when it ever came forward. But like I said, I do think there are circumstances where we do have a role to play. I hope that doesn't happen. You talked about World War III. That is not an inevitability at this point. Actually, where I think we should be focusing on is we have lost our standing in international relationships somewhat over the last few years, and our role in what has been previously a very proud role in history in international diplomacy. And I do think we need to rebuild that somewhat. So I hope we get to a position where we are able to take a much more firm and confident stage on the world stage in actually trying to lead the way away from conflict and away from war. But equally, let me be clear. You mentioned Ukraine there. What we have seen in recent years is we have now seen conflict back in Europe on the front foot. And this is a fight between fascism and democracy. Now, you may have your views on that, but Ukraine is a democratic state that was that Putin entered into. And I appreciate I'm running out of time, but I do find some of the recent comments by Farage an absolute disgrace. So whilst I'm certainly wouldn't be gleefully going into war, I do think there are times when we need to take our stand on the international stage and fight for what we believe in, and that are the principles of democracy, of justice, and of protecting innocent lives.
So, thank you, Pav. And question number two, do you believe that we need to be concerned with sustainability? And can you share 3 actions you have taken in the last few years to help the planet? Can you think of any projects that you would rally support around if you were our local MP that would be a force for good and encourage residents to become more aware of the need to think more sustainably and encourage positive actions towards a more sustainable future?
Yeah, is sustainability important? Absolutely. It's important not only in terms of the kind of macro level, in terms of like fighting climate change, it's also important on a micro level. And actually making some of these small changes can also has a positive impact, not just locally on your own individual life, but it can also have an impact on your local community as well. So some examples of myself that I've done, I don't eat red meat. I've stopped eating red meat, and I have actually reduced the consumption of meat overall. I only eat chicken occasionally now. I recycle a lot more, and that is an active choice that I've made. That's also an active choice in terms of where I shop from, actually, because I think some retailers aren't doing enough in terms of combating their own packaging waste. And the third one, and I haven't quite made this switch yet, but I am going to be buying an electric car when I can afford to be perfectly blunt with you, but that is certainly going to be when I do make my next purchase of a car, it will be an electric car, and I will be making that change there. In terms of local projects, so firstly, I think there's actually real opportunity here for local communities, as I say, not only to help meet some of those sustainable needs, but actually drive growth and local growth as well. So, for example, one of our policies around kind of clean energy is enabling local and municipal organisations to develop small-scale renewable energy projects, so up to 8 gigawatts. And that not only enables better energy supply locally, it's good for the economy locally, it provides local jobs, but it does help people to make that shift on what can sometimes seem like quite a big topic. When we talk about this type of sustainability measures, sometimes it does feel almost too big to tackle, and bringing it down to that local level and showing what small changes can be made locally and how that can play its part in the bigger aims and goals, I think is actually going to be important, because I don't think we will meet our sustainability goals if we only rely on national government. We do need it to draw down into communities as well.
Great stuff. Cheers, Pav. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Right, it's a wrap. Let me find the magic button. There it is.